everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Thursday, July the 27th, 2023. My name is Cliff. I am solo for the moment, but I will soon be joined by Tim. He is having to work the gremlins out of the Bill Gates space magic known as Skype that allows us to connect to one another via over long distances, or in this case, not too long, just across the valley. Actually, if I could get up to the top of the hill over here, I could probably holler and Tim could hear me. Because he's not that far as the crow flies. He's probably just a few miles from me down across the valley. But either way, it's pretty cool that we can send a video across Skype and talk to one another that way. Kind of the thing that seemed like magic when I was a kid, you know? So it was like one of those things that was always in the future, something you were never actually going to get to. What? Almost like the flying cars thing, you know. I kind of figured we would have the flying cars and the video telephones, but I figured it'd be about the same time, and I guess I didn't imagine that it would come on so gradually. Seems like it would, you know, be one of those things that suddenly everybody was just using, but now we do, and most people don't do video calls. Most people don't use the telephone anymore. So it's kind of weird if you go back and you look at movies and television, you know, sci-fi stuff that tried to predict the future somewhat in the 80s and 90s. Everybody always used video calls. You think something like Total Recall, you know, there's the video calling prominently in that, and the Demolition Man, you know, everybody uses video calls, and so on and so forth. As you go through the futuristic kind of dystopian sci-fi movies, you saw a lot of that, and you know. The entertainment industry has always had kind of a line on what's coming in the future, and maybe the future is somewhat influenced by the great, you know, fictional works of its time. So you had something like, you go back to the author of The Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum. You know, he wrote, I think, 18 total Oz books, and some of them were fantasy, and some were pretty much sci-fi. There were times where the characters, I think in the one I'm thinking of, it was the Ozma character who went to a world where basically he described a home with an automatic garage door opener, a laser defense system, cell phones, televisions, and basically, and to the characters it seemed magic, but he was essentially describing technology. He was describing technology, and the characters were perceiving it as magic, but it was ultimately a lot of the things that we come to today with automated homes. You look at a smart home, all the different tasks that you can set up for your house to do, heat it and cool it by yourself. You know, back then they probably would have imagined, I don't believe L. Frank Baum did this, but they probably would have imagined like that you would have a robot who would go out and cut up the wood for you and throw it into the stove, and that's how you'd regulate your temperature. You'd have a robot that might, you know, go out and fetch ice and keep an ice chest, constantly bringing it in, and like having a fan blow on it or something like that. You know, they never could quite nail exactly what it was going to be, but the idea kind of turns from one thing into another, and other people get the hold of the idea, and it progresses and takes shape in different forms, and it's kind of like the horse and buggy situation there in New York. Things take you by surprise when new technology comes along. The automobile comes along. At about the time the automobile was coming along, there was mostly the main means of conveyance, especially in the cities, was horses. And the horses crapped everywhere. So the city and all these planners and all these people were, you know, what are we going to do about this horse crap? If the city keeps growing, we're going to be covered up in it. How are we going to get it all out here? What are we going to do with it? And, you know, they were about to invest a lot of money in figuring out what to do with it and doing something about it. But then along comes the automobile, and it's no longer a problem. So it's kind of that way with a lot of different technologies. We can't imagine, you know, they were thinking of all the technological ways, you know, using their new industrial revolution tools that they could use to clean up the horse shit more. But there was no need to be doing that because other technology was coming along to make the horses as a main means of travel essentially obsolete, and therefore there was no problem. So we see a lot of this with technologies, and they evolve, and we don't ever know what they're going to end up as. But if you look at something like Skype, it is pretty much what we imagined for the future of communication. And you know, the internet and things like YouTube, like you couldn't even imagine those back in, you know, even really in the 80s and 90s. Most people didn't imagine them in the form they are now. I mean, a lot of people thought of it in terms of like a television channel. Like, oh, that you would change the television channel and everything would be done through the television, because at the time the television was the preeminent means of mass communication. And then, back then in the 80s and 90s, most of the only wealthy people, or at least well-to-do middle-class people, had computers, and most people really didn't even know what to do with them when they did have them. They'd play some video games or maybe write a paper on them, but even the 80s and 90s, the computers were far more capable than the average user applied them. So, and today you can't even imagine all the things you could do with a computer, and it's almost wasted on us because we don't even know the basics of how to use a computer other than like a Windows operating system. So there a lot of the things that it can do are kind of lost on us these days. But let's see if we can catch Tim here. He is somewhere out there in the nether world of Skype. Maybe I can get a hold of him. Let's just end Skype and try it again there. I think the problem was on his end. So let's try him again here. Actually, I invited him to a meeting, so let me just call him directly and see if that works better. Maybe we can get him on in here. Jump in the chat. Let me know where you're at to say hello, tell you what you think about any of these topics. And we're going to get into some news and current events real quick. We're not going to do a real long show tonight. We're going to just have a little chat and hang out a little bit. Tim isn't online. His phone thinks he's a hacker, so I guess he'll call us on Skype whenever he gets it fixed out, or I don't know if he got a new phone or what it was, but either way, our task remains the same, and that's to bring you the local events that I think are interesting and national. Gosh, I mean, there have been a lot of interesting national events. We haven't really done national stuff in a while, but I mean, it's not even like it's really politics, but you got geezers dropping left and right up in Congress, and like you got all these old people, these geriatrics, and 70 octogenarians and 90-year-olds. You got Mitch McConnell, having a seizure or a stroke, whatever. I don't know. He froze up completely. You got Biden, mumbling as always and gibbering and talking about what was it he said? Oh yeah, we've cured cancer, man. Yeah, we've ended cancers. We know it, man. Remember he said that in the debate? He's like, yeah, with my first term, we're gonna cure cancer, and everybody was like, whoa, slow down, Joe. Like, don't overpromise. It's easy to overpromise when you've got everybody in the bag like he did. But either way, that's neither here nor there. You've got Dianne Feinstein being on the floor. She's 90 years old, and you hear somebody on the floor of the Senate say, "Just vote yes, Dianne," or something. And she's like, "Oh yeah, just yeah," and God, all these old folks up there, why are they hanging on to power so hard? What is it about? I mean, they're 80 years old. Why do you want to still be? Is it they think that they're the only thing holding the country together? I don't think that could be it, because obviously they've, if their job was if their intent was to improve the country, they wouldn't continue down the path that both sides have gone. When they say something's bipartisan, it's got Democrats and Republicans on it, that always means it's one of the worst, because that means both sides of the swamp are coming together to put something over on us, and they're going to, tell us how great it is that they're coming together. Meanwhile, that's when some of the worst stuff gets done, and it's always called like the don't kill puppies bill. And there's nothing in the bill about don't kill puppies. And matter of fact, if you read deep enough, it says actually we're going to kill puppies in this bill. We're going to allocate $10,000 per county to kill puppies in the don't kill puppies bill. And so they always find their way to come together for some of this awful stuff, but never anything to actually take the country in a good direction. So why are they hanging on so hard? Is it? I mean, it's almost like there's something. Is it just that they feeling important, that they like I mean, they're already wealthy. It's not like Mitch McConnell or Joe Biden or go name your wealthy old politician, Chuck Schumer, Joe Manchin. I know Joe Manchin's not that old, but you know what I'm saying. These guys that are in their 70s and 80s up there, they've been in Congress for decades, screwing the country over forever, and they just want to stay in there. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, you've screwed everybody over for 30, 40 years. You should take some time off and relax. Let some new blood in to thank you, Stephen Lee. Nice to have you spit the red and blue pill in the garbage. That's right. It'd be nice to have at least some new folks in there to take over the reins, but they don't want that to happen. Why is that? Is that they don't want people to get that actual, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, but the in between, the people who, there's so many people who nobody wants to be, as Stephen Lee said, nobody wants to be a Republican or a Democrat. There's so many people who just stay out of the system completely because they've seen how both parties have worked together to screw us over over the years. So I don't know. What's your thoughts? Why are they hanging on so hard? Are they blackmailed? Are they, you know, do they really just care about the country, but they're wrong? Are they just trying to stay rich, or are they just busybodies? What do you think? Why would somebody like a Mitch McConnell or a Nancy Pelosi or insert your octogenarian politician, why would they stay at it? I just don't get it. So, and also, you know, also in the national stage, we've had, and well, I told you this was coming. We've talked about this over the months. There's this, I don't want to say fake disclosure, but it seems pretty fake UFO disclosure going on. Controlled disclosure, of course, you figure they're going to do controlled. But a lot of it seems to be just misdirection or mis or disinformation, quite frankly. You've got the UFO whistleblower that comes out and, you know, all the headlines, oh, this insider, there are, you know, craft from not of this world. And then you actually dig into what it actually said, and he's like, oh, well, you know, I had people who told me this. You know, I'm actually pretty new at this job. I've only been there like 3 years. But they told me that there are aliens, but I'm not supposed to. And then you got a congressional hearing the other day where the fella's saying, oh yeah, we found, you know, crafts, and we've collected biological remains that are not of this earth, and oh, they're non-human. It's like, well, okay. I got a tweet to show you here, and this sums up exactly my feeling. I don't remember what show it was, but I said the same thing as Shoe on Head. Now, Shoe on Head on Twitter, she may be a communist, but I don't know if she's a communist. There's Elon's big X. So when I loaded up Twitter, that was it showed a big X, and they said he's taken over the internet with his X app that's going to combine everything, and that's what he calls it, the Everything app. Tim looks like he's locked out, so I guess he's going to have to create a new account, and maybe he'll be able to get in tonight. But actually, it's 10:30 already, so maybe we'll just have to get that ready for next time. Tim, thank you. I'm sure you're watching out there. But I've just got a few stories I wanted to hit tonight, and I will show you straight away. Stephen Lee, it's good to have you in the chat there. We got my dog pawing at me right here, trying to shake my hand and then sticking his head in my lap. He's so needy. You guys have needy animals? Like, all my animals love, but this guy, he's the neediest animal I've ever seen. And he's like 60 pounds. He's not a small dog. So yeah, let's watch this together here. Shoe on Head says, I believed in aliens until the government told me they were aliens. And that's about how I'm starting to feel about it. So let's watch real quick.
It's not intelligent extraterrestrials.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Biologics, huh? Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Well, what is biologics? I mean, biologic could be anything alive. Your cat Mavis needs to lick you. I've had cats who were lickers. I had a cat named Armand who liked to lick. But yeah, this guy, we found biologics. Well, I don't know how much sense that makes. I mean, I feel like for if there are a lot of these craft flying around, I mean, do we send? I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking it from a human perspective, but we send out probes, we send out robots, we send out drones to check out places, and if there were actual biological entities controlling the vessels, it kind of seemed like it would be, and there were several of, and he's talking about multiple instances of it. Kind of seems like they kind of be everywhere, and then you're like, why are these things crashing everywhere? Like they came all the way across the universe to crash in Earth, or are they here? If there are really these craft, are they here and they've been kind of under or in the Earth or in different parts of the Earth than we inhabit? Are they under the ocean? Who knows? Whatever these things are, they've been seen all over the world, and a lot of people like to say they show this heat map where they're like, oh, this is a North American phenomenon, or a American and European phenomenon. But it's like bull crap, man. Y'all don't even show the Mexico City. Mexico City is one of the biggest places in the world. So is South America. You got all kinds of these sightings everywhere. I don't know what they are. Most people don't know what they are. And not everybody's claiming that they're aliens. It's like, so what are these things? Everybody's real quick to say they're from outer space, but if we didn't know, let's say, if we didn't know that France had airplanes, and suddenly France flies an airplane over us, or flies a helicopter, and really we're just seeing, somebody from halfway around the world. But you could say, well, they came from the sky. And that's kind of my whole thing with the ancient aliens story as well. They say, oh, well, they came from the sky. Well, that means they must be aliens. No, it doesn't say they were aliens. It says they came from the stars or they came from the skies. But just because they flew in, that doesn't imply alien any more than any of these ships imply alien. So some people have given the idea, are they extra dimensional? Are they just in a different part of reality that we can't access because our, with matter being a condensed vibration in theory, with string theory and M theory and all these new, quantum theories on the nature of existence. What is stock? You're driving me crazy. Sorry. But with what if we're a different wavelength? What if our matter is a vibration expressed in a physical form? Perhaps they are vibrating on a different wavelength, like an AM/FM radio. There's AM/FM radios and Wi-Fi signals going on all around me, but I can't interact with them physically. I can use the computer and interact with them, and I can actually send so basically I'm sending in a way, I mean, not literally scientifically, but in a way I'm sending my voice, my likeness, my image, my thoughts through a different dimensional reality in order to get to you, because everything that I am is, all physically is represented on this screen as it gets scrambled into a million digital pieces, billions of digital pieces, trillions, who the hell knows, and sent over to you across these computers, and you're all looking at me now. So perhaps these beings are on a different frequency than us. They're tuned differently than us. Perhaps they inhabit the same place. Maybe they can see all these radio waves that we're bouncing around here, and they're like, get this, well, I can't see to drive my spaceship. So who knows? But either way, it seems awful odd to me. Fallen angels, I've heard that too. And who says they definitely need to be fallen? One of the things, and I'm no theologian, that I've heard about the whole angels and demons thing is a lot of people ascribe aliens to being demons, but this is from a couple of Catholic theologians that I've heard discuss the matter, and they say, well, no, that couldn't be the case, because a demon, if you're actually talking about a demon, like the literal meaning of a demon, is a disembodied spirit of one of the Nephilim that was destroyed in the flood. Those are the actual demons that we're dealing with when we say demon. So yes, Bill, it's hard for me to believe in anything. Yeah, it is hard for me to believe anything or believe in anything. Yeah, because there's so many fake things. There's so many psyops. There's so many people trying to screw with you and have you make up your mind for you so you do what they want you to do. Yeah, it's crazy out there right now. But yeah, so perhaps these things are fallen angels even. Perhaps they're, they're something that we would recognize in the Bible or other religious texts. They certainly seem to have been described in many religious texts: flying vehicles, beings from the skies, wheels within wheels with, multiple heads and eyes. I mean, that sounds like an ignorant description of some sort of technological vessel. And then you got into the Vimana of the Bhagavad Gita and the I can't say the word Bhagavad Gita and I'm not even going to attempt it. That other Indian book, and even down to the South Americans, you've got these stories of these people coming from the skies, from flying ships, where fiery chariots, all these different things all over the history of the world is full of these stories of these things. Yes, Bill, I wonder how they see us too, because we have. The thought is out there to the fact that it's almost like a meme, but do they look at us like ants? Imagine you're a kid burning ants with a magnifying glass. Now, you're not considering that whether or not those ants are a living entity or anything like that. All you're seeing is, because you're a young kid, you're burn the ant. Whoa, look at that! That's cool. You don't think about what that ant's doing, what that ant's going through, because it's an ant. The same thing with flies. We're swatting flies. We don't care where that fly's going. We don't care if you stomp a roach, what its business is and what drives it or anything like that, what its plans might be for the future. So who's to say that they couldn't look at us the same way? That's not an original thought. A lot of people said that before. Even I believe it was Carl Sagan. No, it wasn't Carl Sagan. It was Stephen Hawking. Carl Sagan actually was part of the one. He was part of the, trying to make contact. Stephen Hawking was said, if you look at the history of when an advanced civilization encounters a less advanced civilization throughout history, you don't want to be the less advanced civilization making contact with a more advanced civilization, because it doesn't work out well for the less advanced civilization. So yeah, but who knows? Maybe they're enlightened. Maybe that's how. Maybe you go off world, and that's where Buddha. Buddha's just an alien, and he's like enlightened or whatever, and spreads enlightenment throughout the galaxy. Maybe Jesus lives on multiple planets. Who the heck knows? Wouldn't that be the way it have to be? Like the Spirit of Christ, wouldn't it have to embody, a different physical vessel on each planet if there were multiple planets of beings, or are there different gods in different parts of the universe? Who knows? Lots of different beings with different names claimed to be God in the Old Testament. Are they all the same? Are they different beings? Are they different leaders of different races? Who knows? And so yeah, I was not intending to talk about that. I was going to do some local stuff, but you know how it is when it comes up and you start thinking about these things and we start talking about them. That's where we end up. So let's finish our video here, since I went on about a 20-minute rant in the middle of it without finishing it. So let's check it out from Miss Mace here at the Alien Whistleblower. Remember, he said there were biologics that they recovered. Biologics, like mold, like did they send experimental mice? Were there Chinese people in there? I don't know. Let's see.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Mice and mold and bacteria are also non-human.
Evidence is video, photos, eyewitness. Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Quit. Get out of here.
Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last
my
question.
camera over.
Maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have. But who in the government either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs,
No.
either in a public setting or
Don't go
even
through
in a
there anymore.
private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
Happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super, thank you.
jerk.
And I yield back.
Happy to provide that to you after the hearing. So let's have a hearing about this stuff where I can't tell you anything. I won't tell you anything. I'll tell you just enough to get everybody all titillated, but not actually give them any information. So I am with shoe on head. I believed in aliens until the government told me there were aliens. So what do y'all think that is? You think it's, you know, there is hey Alvin, what's up, man? Glad to have you. I hope you'll check the replay for the first half hour. I think we had some interesting stuff to talk about there. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, the guy, he's supposedly a whistleblower, and but I'm telling you everything in a secure, in a skiff, so that no classified information gets leaked or anything. But I'm still going to tell you that we're finding downed crafts with biologics. Now, she asked if there were pilots, and he said, yes, we did recover biologics. Well, he said yes to pilots. So are these, biologics piloting the craft? He said they're not human. He didn't, I don't know, though. Alvin said it showed up last night, Spill. Only to remember it's tonight, and then tonight forgot. My bad, Spill. Hope all is well. Thank you, Alvin. Hope you will. Yeah, we were basically just talking about, sum it all up. I believed in aliens until the government started telling me they were aliens. So, but we just finished up the video there where the guy, or the clip of it,
Intelligent.
is a UFO whistleblower. Non-human biological pilots, he says. So, I don't know. What do you think about it? Why? I don't know. What do they have to gain from that? If they were lying, would it be to distract from something? Would it be to, basically, would it be just to screw with people? Would it be to set up, Project Bluebeam that we've been talking about for all these years? Or would it be like to, maybe even to say to Russia, hey, don't mess with us. We've got, alien technology. Who knows? Or to China or whoever, we're in the proxy war with Russia right now, but is that even, you have to wonder, is it even real? Is it like, just like kind of all the other, is the 1984 scenario where they're just kind of keeping a war going to, use up resources, keep people to despair all the time, be able to basically give people Stockholm syndrome via government. There's all different explanations. I don't know what they are. Alien tech didn't, oh, okay. Alvin's not done typing, I don't think. We'll see what he says here in a second. Shoo, dehydrated today. I'll tell you what. I'll drink 4 of these and 2 quarts of water, and I still can't get enough to drink. And the sun is like not even the sun, really. It was like just my skin was burning from the heat. Being outside, and not even being outside that long. It was just so humid and god awful, as Hank Hill would say. Couldn't you do something a little less god awful? We got nothing, just distractions. Big, huge distractions from reality. Yeah, exactly. But what is the intent of the distraction? Is it just to get us up here talking about it? Is it more bread and circus? I really don't know. But I didn't really, and I guess it worked, because instead of getting into my local scanner food stories, I started talking about aliens. I used to believe aliens. I used to believe in aliens. Let me get to this real quick. And if y'all don't follow the Scanner Food page on Facebook, if you're local here to the Tri-Cities, definitely should check that out. I just had to show that because I was talking about McConnell earlier. But yeah, that's what he did. Just froze up for 30 seconds. The classic meme. McConnell living the meme. Let me find this Scanner Food stuff because lately, I mean, people are still in cars, motorcycles, like crazy, and I keep trying to touch the screen on this computer. This one does not work that way. Red Chevy Cobalt stolen just a minute ago in Abington, all over Southwest Virginia, in particularly. Motorcycle stolen. Motorcycle crash. Damn. 50 more minutes ago in Elizabethton, says armed domestic, large police response, one subject en route to hospital. Jeez. That was not what I'm looking for either. Yeah, somebody's being a clever guy here and saying, yeah, try that in small town and see how far it goes. I'm not sure if he was making fun of Jason Aldean or making fun of the people who don't like Jason Aldean, but either way, in poor taste. Structure fire at Barnes & Noble. That's not what I'm looking for. Here we go. I was going to show you all this. Stolen here in Bristol, Virginia, on the Parkway. Black and red Harley. Not even like, I mean, not to shit on the guy's bike or anything, but it's not even like it's like a really, it's a 96 Sportster. I mean, I'd love to ride a 96 Sportster and everything, but it's like stealing motorcycles and you have me get shit. Get the guy's bike back. If you see that, guy, if you see that, folks, let the cops know. Robbie Fritz, I think it says there. So looks like Robbie's done a lot of work to back that bike, and I'm sure he would like to get it back. So any of y'all see that over in the Bristol area? And there's another motorcycle stolen, red sport bike stolen, from Washington County near Big John's. So Washington County, Virginia. So this guy took a test drive and didn't return. Took off on the bike. Lots of crazy stuff. Okay, so here was the main one I wanted to show here. This was in Cocke County, Tennessee. This is arrested suspect David B. Kelly, born 1988, was arrested for several drug charges in violation of the sex offender law. Doesn't say what he did to violate the sex offender law, but it does say he has a shit ton of fentanyl, like 1,400 tablets. They say suspected fentanyl. I guess they're waiting on lab results, but yeah, they're probably like fake oxys or roxys or something. And so he's got, all kinds of nasty drugs here. Looks like I didn't even charge him with the weed. Maybe he got a bag of weed there too, and that's not even listed in the offenses. He's got him a Taurus handgun there. Few $100s, what, $1,000 cash? This fella here, David B. Kelly, he got a $500,000 bond. But, I mean, the question that I really have, because I'm not really want to be putting people's faces up here, but this guy is obviously like, I mean, if this is what you're doing, running around selling fentanyl to people, I don't have a problem saying you're a scumbag. Not that I have a problem necessarily with drug dealers or drug users in particular, but running around selling fentanyl and stuff like this, this guy's up to no good. He's not a citizen of the year. But what I really want to know is, this guy, is he going to catch all the heat for it, because he bought those from somebody. Somebody's pushing the fentanyl into the area at a large scale for a goober like this to be able to get a hold of a bag like that. Think how many must actually be around here if this guy, gets a hold of that many pills and that many fentanyl tablets, think about the, just the death that those things could cause. Just a year or two ago, I lost a friend of mine, and a couple of people died from weed with fentanyl in it. Weed. They're cutting all these other pills with it. A lot of bad things happening from this stuff. So, my whole thing is, this guy, if they busted this guy, they could have followed him around and figured out where he's going and stuff. I don't know. Just seems to me like this is allowed to continue to a degree, and they catch the people that really don't mean anything. Meanwhile, the whole game moves on. More and more people walking around on drugs in public. You can tell they're obviously on drugs. And it's just really damaging to the community. It doesn't seem like, people calling on their neighbors and stuff like that. And I think the local people in the community, and they see directly the damage that it causes, and they also see nothing really being done about it. I hear people complain about it all the time, like, oh, they don't do nothing about it. But when they do, it's just kind of these guys. And then another one will step in to take his place. So, because he's got customers, somebody's going to have to serve him, and somebody's going to have to, go get the product from the people he was getting it from. So the cycle will just continue. And they're always like, oh, well, we just got to get him to rat out the big fish. And the big fish, no, they don't rat out the big fish because the big fish will kill them. So, they might rat out a friend or an acquaintance that, has no more than they are, and so the cops can get their bust, but they don't actually really want to do a whole lot about it. Because the cops are probably worried too, really. You get somebody who's like a kingpin of some sort, you don't want to be the guy to take that, that arrests that guy and has his guys after you. So it's kind of pretty dirty, corrupt all the way down. Yeah, this area is really bad for drugs. It's definitely. Yep, I do know that. Notice that, Unibluffer. Anything that he says, notice anything that divides people gets major attention. Absolutely. Spill says, always distracting us from the real work we're supposed to do. Alvin says the only reason they bust the local drug dealers is because he hurts the doctor's business with his pharma scripts. The big fish are normally local bigwigs, attorneys, doctors, and the like, yeah. And have a Stephen Lee Day says, Alvin, healthcare is pretty bad here too. Yeah, it's pretty bad to find anything. Healthcare really took a nosedive. There used to be, a few. Well, I don't want to give you a number or anything, but there were a lot more independently practicing doctor. Like, there was this big old fat guy that just he was a doctor. He couldn't hardly walk, and he saw people out of his house. But there were a lot of guys like that. The doctors that, not the big fat guy that couldn't hardly walk, but, there were independent doctors in a lot of different places, especially about even 20 years ago when I was an adult, but when I was a kid too, there was, we went and saw a guy who, had his own practice, and there's so much less of that. Everybody's working for, some kind of health management organization or whatever the hell they call it these days. You're part of Ballad Health, or you're part of SOFA, too many TikTok dancing nurses, doctor. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, we really don't need you dancing right now, especially dancing on our graves of our grandmothers as you give them drugs that didn't work properly, and suppress their kidneys and watched them die, and then told me I couldn't go to their funeral. But, well, I guess you didn't tell me that, nurse, but you told me I couldn't come in and hold their hand while they died, or you told me, that I couldn't visit them before they went. And you made all the medical decisions without, the consent of the family or the person who was receiving the treatment. And then you got a big kickback for it, and you danced. Yeah, good fucking job. Hope you're proud of yourselves. Hope y'all are real proud of yourselves. And there's a lot of people like to like, oh, well, the local healthcare system, they did the best they could. And they did, you know what? They could have looked at they had access to the same information that I did, and they didn't look at it. They ignored it. They laughed at it. And like I said, then they none of them did their set their own policy. They were too scared to set their own policy because what if they were wrong, and then they don't want to get cut off from their federal dollars. So yeah, y'all are complicit too, local health systems. But yeah, we drink from the same well. That's right, Alvin. Oh man. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to just say is it's kind of got crazy around here, man. That you know, the drugs are off the hook. We call that place down under the interstate there in Johnson City where they built a big new sidewalk. You know, they painted that new mural there, which is actually, you know, it's hey, I got nothing against public art, especially if it's pretty public art, and that actually is. But why did you put it under the interstate? And why did you build a sidewalk there when nobody but the meth heads walk up and down the sidewalk there? I mean, that's almost the only people that you see to use it. You know, it's I guess they're wanting to expand the commercial zones, and they're wanting people to be able to walk from one part of Run Street to the other and have it nice and pretty there. But man, stick to like big like nice old buildings and stuff. They got some nice murals downtown. I mean, why under the interstate? Although the guy did a really nice job, and the same guy that painted the one under the interstate, he also painted the one over on Market Street. I think it's the Cottage Building or something like that. But over on Market Street, there's a really nice mural there that he painted. So all that stuff's cool, and I like you know, stuff that actually beautifies the area. But you know, most of the stuff they got in Johnson City is that nonsense. It looks like a damn bunch of French fries sticking up, or just a blue ribbon, or just a bunch of scrap metal tack welded together and spray painted or something. It's like public art should either inspire some sort of feeling, you know, give you a figure to look up to and be inspired by, or it should at least be beautiful and make the place look nice. And this is just like it looks like a bunch of balled up aluminum foil, you know, or somebody you know, took a bunch of scraps and just kind of welded them together and hung them up on a pole and spun around. You know, I'm sure it's beautiful to the artist. I'm sure the artist gets something out of it. I'm sure it means something to the artist, but that's the kind of stuff you look at in a gallery. It's not public art. It's like the communists, I think it was in the what you call it, the Yuri Bezmenov revelations and stuff. No, it was before that, actually. It was one of the Communist Party USA things from like the 70s, and they were talking about how what they wanted to do was get rid of the old public art. You know, let's get rid of statues of like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry. Let's get rid of these because these inspire, you know, feelings of loyalty to the country. They inspire people to be upstanding citizens and to be brave and selfless and, you know, honorable. We don't want that. So we want the Americans to have public art that is meaningless and formless and actually ugly. And we see plenty of that out there. Is they, you know, like I said, no disrespect to the art students over there at ETSU who are making this stuff. I'm sure it means something to them, and you know, it's pretty cool, I guess, if that's what you created. But it's just not. I'm strictly shitting on Johnson City here. That's not public art, you know. Put a statue of one of the local heroes. Hey, we're Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett and John Sevier. I mean, you got a lot of options. You know, there's it's not like Mary Patton. You know, there's all kinds of historical figures that we could put statues up of and, you know, talk about and encourage our future generations to emulate. But no, let's stick some metal in the ground. Banksy. Hey, Banksy's cool. Yeah, Banksy means something. His art does mean something. But I mean, he's also not bought and paid for by the government, unless at least he wasn't. Not to say that if a government did agree to fund Banksy, which at his level he might think it was just ironic enough to do it, and then not do what they want or something. But yeah. Good art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Okay, yeah, sure, and I agree with that, Alvin. And I'm talking. We're not necessarily talking good art. We're talking public art. It's not necessarily the same thing, at least in my opinion. Good art is stuff that I seek out or encounter on my own. public art's kind of a different thing. Yes, I agree though. Good art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. That's a good words to live by if you're an artist. We need a statue memorializing Forrest, Bondurant, and Howard. I should know who that is, I guess. Forrest, Bondurant, and Howard. I'm looking it up. Sorry for the dead air. Prohibition era gangster, one of the Bondurant brothers of Franklin, Virginia. Ooh. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to read about this. Howard Bondurant, Jack Bondurant. Okay. Very cool. Thank you for telling me about that, Ellen. I don't know about these guys. Definitely. And Popcorn Sutton. He did me Lawless. Yeah, there we go. We'll do a Popcorn Sutton. But anyway, that's about all we got for tonight. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm gonna look those guys up. That would be good for one of our local segments. And I talked a week ago. I was going to put together a series on the local issues that we're facing in a recorded and on location episodes. I started on one of those, and I should not have endeavored to start this project yet because I currently have my deck torn off my house. I'm putting in a back door and putting in a deck, and I have a small business that has just kind of been really booming recently, so I've been getting home late and haven't had time to put the effort into it that it deserves. As a result, my production Sunday was less than what I had wanted to achieve, so I scrapped it and I'm going to do it. But so we're just going to do a live show at least for the next few Sundays till I get enough time to put some effort into this thing and do it the right way. I just don't have time to give it the effort it deserves, and I don't want to half-ass it. So definitely, let's get in this chat on Sunday night, 10 p.m. We'll do the live show like normal for the next few weeks, at least until I get shit settled back down and am not trying to do like 5 projects at one time. I'm always running about 3, but 5 to 7 can be too much. Bondurant took on Capone trying to hone in on the mountain moonshine business. It didn't work out for Capone. Well, I am definitely going to look into that story. Thank you so much, Alvin. I appreciate you being with us. Spill the tea. Alvin, Stephen Lee, it's so nice of y'all to join us in the chat. We'll always encourage you, and my dog keeps bumping my camera. I always encourage you to invite a friend, bring someone else who you think might enjoy these conversations, participate in it with us, and we will see you on Sunday. Please like and share and subscribe. As always, have a good night, and we'll see you.